Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Don from 1A Auto. I hope this how-to video helps you out. And the next time you need a part for your vehicle, think of 1AAuto.com. Thanks.
In this video, we're going to show you how to remove and reinstall front axle in this 2005 Hyundai Elantra. Pretty much the same for any 2001 to 2006. We show you the right hand or passenger side. The driver's side is the same procedure. You'll need jack and jack stands, pliers, 22 and 32 millimeter socket. You'll need a ratchet, a breaker bar, and a pipe or a pipe. You'll have to get some leverage on at least the axle bolt. Hammer, 19 millimeter wrench, pry bar, and a torque wrench. Start by removing one of the front wheels, and if you don't have the benefits of air tools, you'll want to start with the vehicle on the ground, loosen the lug nuts, then jack up and secure the vehicle on jack stands and remove the lug nuts, the wheel cover, and wheel and tire.
You can remove the cotter pin through the axle.
Okay, this is just a matter of bending the one side, bend the legs straight, and then pull it through the other side.
Use a 32 millimeter socket with a breaker bar and a pipe to free up the nut at the end of the axle. I got Mike in the car holding the brake so that the hub doesn't spin. And remove the nut and washer. And I'm going to turn the wheel and get a little bit better access for my wrenches. Use 14 millimeter wrenches to hold the back side of the sway bar link, and for the nut, and I'm going to put a wrench in here to help me get a little bit extra leverage. Let's break the nut free.
Okay, you can try a couple taps with a hammer to see if your axle breaks free. If not, put the nut back on and then use more force. Okay, and that amount of hitting will probably damage the threads a little bit in the nut. You'll want to use a new nut when you go to put it back on if you have to use this method, but you can usually get it off with a socket. Okay, and fast forward as we remove that nut the rest of the way.
And I'm going to use my 14 to counter hold, like I did on the top. 14 to break it free.
Okay, and as you can see there, what we do is we put the wrench on and then just hook another wrench onto the end just to give yourself some extra leverage. Helps you break the nut free.
And 2 nuts free. Pull your sway bar link out. And I've got a 19 millimeter wrench on the nut for the lower ball joint. Use another wrench for leverage. You might have to hold the brake rotor in place. And once you get it broken free, you don't want to lock up your wrench between your axle and the nut, so then you can use your open end to switching it back and forth.
Okay, and we'll just speed up here as we loosen that nut up. You don't want to take it quite all the way off yet.
Try and give a couple whacks to the spindle here to free up the ball joint. you got it. Finish removing this nut from the ball joint.
It's out.
All right, locate where the drive shaft goes into the transmission. It's right here. Make sure you got a catch for any fluid that might come out. And what we're gonna do is you're gonna use a pry bar and pry between the axle and the housing right here. You can see it's already starting to come out. And there's your fluid. I'm feeding the axle back in the way it came out through the fender well. And I'm going to line up the splines, the transmission. Give a little push, seat it in. All right, I'm going to use a little lube on the axle splines here just to help them go in a little easier.
Once the axle shaft is back in place, to get the ball joint back up into the steering knuckle, and then start the nut onto the top of the ball joint. Okay, put your center hub nut back on, torque it to 175 foot-pounds.
And insert the cotter pin back in. After I line the nut with the holes, and I'm going to bend those tabs back. Tightening up the ball joint nut.
And I'm going to fast forward. This is just kind of tedious. You can only do it about 1/8 to 1/4 of a turn at a time. Tighten it up with the one wrench, and then hook another wrench onto it. Pull it nice and tight, basically about as tight as you can with those two wrenches.
Installing the link back into the sway bar and to the control arm.
Okay, and nice shot of our elbow there. And once you can see, once you've got it out, it's a pretty easy process to get it back in. You might have to just kind of manipulate the link a little bit to get it to go through the stabilizer bar and the control arm, but then put the nuts on pretty much hand tight, and then use your two 14mm wrenches. And we actually also used two 14mm wrenches, and you could also use a 14 and a 9/16 if you had to. And you basically want to get them about as tight as you can with a wrench, and then just hook your wrench on and just give it another pull about 1/4 of a turn using both wrenches. Put the wheel back in place, put the hubcap on, and start your lug nuts, and then you just want to kind of hand start them first to make sure you don't cross the threads. And then once they're hand started, then just kind of preliminarily tighten them up.
And with the car back on the ground, a little bit of pressure on it, or weight on it. I'm going to use the 22 and a torque wrench that I've set to 100 foot-pounds, and torque them to the star panel.
We hope this helps you out. Brought to you by www.oneauto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet. Please feel free to call us toll free 888-844-3393. We're the company that's here for you on the internet and in person.